Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Is this thing on? Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. William Enza, thank you for the follow on Facebook. Much appreciated. Thank you for the confirmation, everyone. On the audio there. Flip over to the main screen. Hello, and welcome back to Mapmaker Monday. It's me, Mac. How you guys doing? Guys and gals, I should say. Welcome. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Again, my name is Mac. I'm the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. Dungeon Alchemist is what you see in front of you. It's a map-making utility that is available on Steam. It provides you with a tool set that allows you to build maps in a fantasy setting. You can build environmental maps, rooms, etc. in moments using our procedural AI that we developed entirely in-house, or you can roll up your sleeves and build every inch of the map custom like I'm doing in this one. I'm currently working on an ancient cemetery, which we've been working on for a few weeks on stream. We work on it every Monday for about an hour, hour and a half. So far, we have gotten quite a bit done. An entryway here into the complex for the cemetery, which I thought would be a good kind of a neat thing to have. It makes it just feel more grand. Then you come on in, and there's a little parking area for carriages and whatnot, which I plan to kind of fill out later. Maybe add some stables. That will be for the chapel here, which is where, they facilitate the funerals. The chapel, we kind of filled in and gave it a couple stories over here for a bell tower. And then we started giving it decorations, little garden kind of area around the outside. Pathing and whatnot to just make it feel more, used and long-term. Inviting. We're still not quite done with this. There's some more decorating that needs to be done on the outside of the fence, but the inside has come along pretty well. We did over to here, this little area, and most of these plants around the patio, like walkway, last week. I want to kind of put some more plants here, put plants in these negative spaces, and then the chapel area will be done. Quite a bit of work has been put into this so far. We got a big graveyard plot here, just kind of average plots. Then we have a more fancy, like fenced off mausoleum style plots. I plan to put a little caretaker's like home with like a shed and a garden and stuff, and there'll be a road heading out that'll be over here. And then the rest will pretty much all be random plots of varying degrees of age and complexity. Whether they're, pauper graves or, like terraced, walled off mausoleums, will be just a variety of different things. Are you getting the chat feed on Steam yet? Oh, mine just refreshed. I got it. There we go. Just want to make sure I'm up on all feeds right now. My TikTok chat froze, so I apologize, TikTok viewers. Give me one moment. Okay, back up. We've got Twitch up. We've got everything's live now. Cool. Yeah, I've noticed the last few times Steam's been kind of like some weeks it's instant, some weeks it's like 5 minutes. It's very 50-50, I feel like. How was everyone's weekend? Did you do anything interesting? Did you get any game sessions in or session prep? If you got to game with your table, let's hear about it. What was the most interesting thing that happened? If you did session prep, let's hear about that. What did you work on? If you just, did real life things, RL things, went out, maybe you went camping, went for a hike, or went to an event, or hung out with your family, let's talk about it. I still want to hear about it, even if it wasn't session related. While we kind of get back into the groove of building, I had some ivy on this, which I love. I'm going to put a little bit more here and then put some on this side. Pretty much I want ivy all the way around the church. Just feels right. Stand by. Oh, okay. Just got a bot message randomly. My brain don't do good at the moment. Give me a minute here. Hey, Smokey, welcome back. How have you been? This is just straight up skill. Anyone can do this right now. The update wouldn't be out without an announcement email. It would be very publicized. There will be videos and streams leading up to it that are like, reveal streams and teaser videos for weeks and announcements with a for sure set date. We wouldn't just drop it randomly. But no, multi-level like this is something anyone can do in Dungeon Alchemist. All I did here was use the freestanding walls located under structural freestanding. So I found the matching wall. In this case, it's, somewhere down here. Oh my goodness, where is it? Let's just say it's this one. That might even be it. Dungeon Alchemist has snapping, right? So you can snap to areas if you hold control. You can raise things up and down if you disable collisions. So that's pretty much all I did, was disabled the collisions and raised it up to the right height and then started copying it and snapping it in place. Right on top of the existing one. A little bit weird from this angle to do that. Is it struggling with me? I know why it's having problems, because I'm on an angle from the grid. I'm making this way difficult on myself. But yeah, that's all this is. So a multi-level like this in a VTT wouldn't be problematic because it's really just up a stair to the bell tower. You could still see in. But for like a VTT, when it comes to exporting for multi-level, our next update will support multi-level maps built directly through the AI room generation. And how we plan to support exports for that will be pretty much each level will export as its own like image, its own layer. So you'll have multiple exports per map if you have multiple levels, which means each of those would be a scene in your virtual tabletop. There really is no way to do multi-level directly in most virtual tabletops unless they're like a 3D type situation. I'm doing good, Mandu. How are you? But yeah, so essentially this here is just, it's just stacking. It's like Lego or blocks. But this is something anyone in our community can do right now quite easily. You just gotta kind of play around with it a little bit. A few principles go in tandem to make this work. The first one is disabling collisions. You got to disable collisions under the object panel, which when you do that, it allows you to kind of put objects together or closer to each other than you wouldn't normally. That's one thing. It allows you to scale objects far beyond or below their normal limits, and it allows you to raise objects up and down. So when you do this, that gives you more verticality in your builds. Let me save this really quick, and I'll show you another example of a top-down. Been okay playing modded Minecraft? Nice. Which mod is it? Or which mods, Smokey? Eduardo, how you doing, buddy? Welcome back. Yeah, it's good to see you, too. I'm just going to save again, and then we're going to open a map that I made that is multiple level, just to kind of show you an example. And this one I actually designed with multi-level in mind. I kind of did it in a certain order of operations, so it could be pulled apart easier on the back end. Okay, so... Oh no! I saved the effects on there last week when I painted them over. That won't take but a second. Okay. So this building here, the update, unfortunately, I don't have a set launch date or even a window. The closest thing I could say is likely Q1 2025. Basically, it's just not there yet. We're kind of in the early alpha development phase. There's lots of assets that need to be depreciated and updated and fixed to accommodate to multi-level. Including every wall, every pillar, many objects that supersede walls like windows and doors and stuff like that. So ultimately, it's going to take some time. And we want to do it right, too. So we want it to function and not be buggy and work and have a good, simple export solution. Yeah, all of the stairs need to be depreciated. So many things need to be changed to accommodate to this update. So it's essentially getting a facelift from top to bottom. Yeah, I wish I had more info, though. But I will say this. I've got some teasers, and I'm going to be sharing them throughout the stream if you want to see some of the latest stuff. Also, I'm showing ways to approach multi-level right now in Dungeon Alchemist using the tools available. So anyone can build something like this with what you have, you know, between the workshop and the tools in Dungeon Alchemist. It's quite possible to build towers, castles, you know, all sorts of stuff. So kind of taking a look at this roof here is actually a custom asset. Mrs. Mac, my lovely wife, made this for me, and we uploaded it to the workshop. It's called Observatory Roof. Anyone can download it and use it. I had her make it with this little hole in it so we could use it for the, the telescope there. You can pull off the roof or delete it, whatever. And inside is the top floor, which is the observatory. I made this very carefully in that everything in this floor is on top of this wood platform, the floor itself. All the walls, all the objects. And I did that because I want to move them together. So I can actually pull the whole floor off as a solid piece, move it to the side. I can even delete it as a solid piece, so now it's gone. And I did that intentionally, so if I ever want to export this map for play, I go File, Save As, floor, or just the one with the ceiling, one with floor 4, one with floor 3, one with floor 2, and Save As each time is a different number floor, right? That way I have a different scene for each level and can put them into a virtual tabletop or print them or whatever. I also made a point that this circle snapped into a point. That way it wasn't difficult for me to realign all of these when I move them. So they all snap into this same area, and I just held control to get it to snap. If an object snaps by default, you can hold control to turn it off, to toggle it off. But if it doesn't, you can hold control, and it will snap to the grid the best it can. There's a few key shortcuts in Dungeon Alchemist. Control is one, Shift is another. If you hold Shift when you're placing an object, it automatically duplicates it, etc. Now, let's get into this building here. I'm going to put the roof on and just kind of show you how this works. I actually designed this in a way that it's fully navigable. I appreciate the confidence and the kind words, Thomas. Honestly, we would love to get the update out as soon as possible. It's just kind of one of those things that it is a monumental amount of work that needs to go into this to make it work correctly for, you know, the future and all future updates and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Essentially, you got to do it right. And our team, the devs, the artists, they're kind of perfectionists. So I think they're just making sure it's done double right. Like as good as it can be. So here we have the observatory, you know, the star chart set up, his different books and whatever, codices and different treasures he may have gathered from observing distant planets or what, I don't know. Anyway, going down, we have this hatch with a little staircase that goes into his bedroom. He's got a little bathroom, bed area with his, you know, his treasures and gear and stuff like that. Yeah, Eliza's hiding in the map. But she's trapped, so I feel safe. She's in a containment field. Go down to this next level is a study slash kind of like a library, workstation, stuff like that. And then lastly, the bottom floor, which is like the hearth kitchen area. I built this before we had official like round rooms with the room generation, so I had to use the round walls we have, and those you can't attach doors to, so I made kind of like a false door, so it's like immersion based. But, you know, I know it's a door and my players aren't going to argue with me over it. And then here we have a hatch that actually goes to a tunnel that leads out the back of the map. So every inch of this is navigable and it can be pulled apart one floor at a time, kind of like, almost like a dollhouse even, you know what I mean? Or like those old, like the castle thing from like Play School or whatever that you could pull it apart and put stuff in. I'm not trapped. She's not trapped in there. Right? Like, what's his name? Rorschach. I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me. Honestly, when I was in the theater and that line was uttered, the entire theater was divided on that remark. Some of them like were gasp, like, oh, and others screamed and hoot and hollered. They were like, that is so awesome. Rorschach is a pretty intense character. Probably one of the best portrayed cinematic characters in all of like any movie, I think. Like he did so good. It is an awesome scene. For those not wondering what we're talking about, there's this movie. It's like a decade or maybe 10, 15 years old now. It's called Watchmen. It is rated R. It's an adult kind of movie. There's lots of gore and other stuff in it. So, you know, watch at your own discretion there. I'm not necessarily saying, hey, go watch it. But there's a scene that there's a guy that goes to jail that is kind of like a anti-hero, superhero. And he's put in prison with all of these people he's put in jail that hate him, and other people just hate him in general. And then they're all like threatening to attack him. And he says that line. He goes, "You don't get it. I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me." And imagine if like Batman was in Arkham Asylum with all the baddies. Like that's probably how it would be. But like he took on like a dozen of them. It was awesome. It's intense. It's a gritty scene, to say the least. Okay, back to the build. Yeah, I mean, honestly, Rorschach is kind of like, it's like he's a hobo Batman. There's two kind of Batman archetype characters in The Watchmen. There's a guy named the Night Owl, who is basically Batman. He's kind of like a rich guy with a suit that looks like an owl, and he's got all the tech and gear. But Rorschach is more the dark side of Batman, that's like the detective and the guy that, like, you know, won't, I don't know, hobo Batman. Basically, you know, he and that's part of his, like, thing, is he doesn't have, like, a lair, he doesn't have a ton of funding, he just kind of lives like a drifter, and so he has a lot of anonymity in that way, because people can't, like, don't know who he is or where he is, if that makes any sense. That looks cool. That looks pretty good. Who's ready for a teaser? Some of you may have seen this one, some of you may have not. This has not been shared on our social networking posts, so it's kind of more of an inside teaser for the streams. This is the first look at ceilings from the inside. So as you can see, there's clearly a ceiling in this room, and it's uniform and fits well to the room and has a uniform texturing, patterning. This is actually a lot's going on in this clip if you pay attention. I just paused this so we can discuss it. So in the next update, to accommodate to roofing and to help this all work seamlessly within the system created in Dungeon Alchemist, we opted to come up with a simple solution that would allow for it to be done rather ingeniously. Basically, you see this like kind of ridge of rock there? That is the normal kind of top of the wall, right? That's the normal height. So in the past, things like windows and objects hanging on the wall would overhang the wall, and it would kind of not look that great. You could see the sky, stuff like that when you were in first person. And now the next update will add roofing, ceilings. But what it does when it does that, it puts a little riser that's like roughly 1/3 the size of this wall. So it adds an extra third or so. Did he? This guy, I swear. I'm going to download that. We'll take a look at that one next. So you have a few things. You can see how the windows will no longer be like overlapping the wall. They won't clip into the roof above them. Stuff like this will be much more immersive. Let me close this one after we play it one more time, and then we'll show the new clip that was just shared. When are you getting your new PC, and what are the specs on it? One moment. Nice. DDR4 or 5? Nice. I'm sporting a 4070 Ti, and it runs DAA like a tank. Just throwing that out there. Cemetery is actually coming along great. We just had some new teasers to share, so we were going to show them on the stream really quick. Here you can see the inside of this kind of skeletal palace. You see ceilings, multiple levels, balconies. Interior balconies is the main thing, and exterior balconies. A lot of different things working in tandem. Still some bugs, obviously, but it's getting better. But this is just a preview of what will be available in the next update. Isn't it great, Eduardo? Or like a lich. Like this could totally be like a lich's domain. Or yeah, Dracula Castle. So excited to remake 20 of my maps. Is that sarcasm I detect, Dyson? How are you, by the way? Welcome back. But this clip was just shared on our Discord not even like 10 minutes ago, so this is fresh. This is like no one's really seen this but y'all and maybe a few people in our Discord, so consider yourself lucky. I think this is amazing though. And this is just like a preview of what's to come. A horror convention. That's cool. Did you dress up? Do some cosplay? I would feel like that one, like a horror convention and maybe like an anime convention, those are the ones like people dress up the most. And obviously like Comic-Con, you know, because it's like all the characters. I'd go to a horror convention dressed up as a tax auditor. I'm sorry, but that'd be the most terrifying costume there. You'd win prizes. I find it's either or, really. It's either the nicest people you know are into horror or the edgiest people you know. Like those guys that take Joker as an identity. Every once in a while, one of them comes across a feed somewhere, Reddit or FYP on TikTok, and they just make me laugh. This is someone dressed up all like the Joker, and they're like, the world didn't realize how dark it was until it found me. Or something like that in the post. I saw the whole Ghostbusters team and they even did a dance. That's fantastic. You know what? That's commitment. I'm assuming they came there as a group. Yeah, German, you get it. You get it. Okay, let's get back to building. So I was kind of putting some ivy on this to kind of... That's cool. Isn't it looking great? It's coming along. I'll give you a little preview in a moment. Kind of zoom around and check it all out. Okay, so we have essentially the entry area, which we did kind of weeks ago, right? I think this turned out great. I might kind of extend the pool a little bit because I extended the map and it looks weird. It kind of has that flat edge, so I might make it look more natural later. I'll do some finishing touches. Then we did the first part of the graveyard, which is just a bunch of graves that I painted using the the object brush in the grid patterning. Put a few details in there, going to plan to do more later. Then we have the chapel, which I think is looking really good. And then we have the bell tower, 3-story bell tower. So we've got a multi-level option in the build. We've got, like all sorts of stuff we're doing here. Not to mention this entire build is built like perpendicular to the grid, so it's a little tricky at times. Because all the tools are meant to work on the grid, so I'm kind of fighting that at times. Then we built this entire path and garden kind of area around, which is almost done. I've been putting finishing touches. This needs to be done, and then this area on the outside. So I guess we should just focus on that. I was doing the ivy because I love ivy. I think it makes old buildings feel like very old. You like stuff like that. To me is a perfect way to make something feel like it's been there a long time. Dum 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 dum. Okay. Yeah, exactly. And like in the parking lot, I understand no ivy, they keep it clean, but the garden area, it makes so much more sense to have it with the plants. It just feels like alive and real. I think the map is looking good. Let's turn on some light actually so you can see it in the day. Statues pretty regularly. I'm thinking they're like old saints, or martyrs to the church. Something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah, this little like pergola thing we did here with the shrine. That's a great addition. I'm going to put a painting in there eventually, something like religious symbol or something, but for right now, I just put a placeholder of an image of the map in there. Take a screenshot of some of the statues. This is quite a large map. Yeah, it's ambitious to say the least. I don't know, I get ahead of myself sometimes. Right now it's 82 by 82. It's going to be pretty large when all's said and done. It might even end up being larger. So we have this large road here, which is going to be a cross section through the entire cemetery. So there'll be a road going through it entirely this way, and then another one running this way. Like a big X or a T through the center of the cemetery. Or my mouse highlighter. Hey, see you later, Mandu. Absalom, thank you. Thank you for the kind words. So I'm curious what the various platforms think of the design so far and how it's coming along. We obviously are live streaming on many different platforms at the moment. We're live on Twitch, we're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Steam. I'm not going to pressure any of you to, chime in, but I would love to hear any feedback on this. I know a few of you on Twitch have said stuff already, but for those of you who may not have chimed in yet, I would love to hear your insight on the build so far. What do you think of this massive cemetery complex as it's coming along so far? And remember, we have, a good 2/3 of the map left that will be covered in cemetery plots when all's said and done. So there will be a lot more cemetery to this. Getting most of the minutia out of the way, I guess you could say. Thank you, Byron. I appreciate that. I'm also, open to criticisms. If anyone's like, what the heck are you doing, Mac? I'd love to hear it. Yes. Yes. They're gonna probably be like over here-ish somewhere, or here-ish. I'm deciding what to do with each area. So I was gonna do a terraced area that was like raised and really nice. It might even be over here, kind of separated. Because I feel like there'd be a lot more pauper graves than rich, nice graves, right? There'd be more medium and like generic graves than there would be really nice mausoleum types. But the mausoleum ones tend to take up a lot of space because they're like private areas, they're all gated off, where they have a huge mausoleum for like 1 to 10 people. So, or even, like a complex of them. Anyway, I'm thinking probably like terraced graves and stuff like that around here that would be like raised up, flattened areas with like stairs in between them or like walkways, and they go up to different gated areas that have more mausoleums. And then as you come around here, it'll become kind of less fancy, more pauperish, pauper, you know what I mean? All the way around. And I was thinking pauper graves would be close to the chapel because initially they would have been like right adjacent to it. Maybe the chapel expanded over time. Something like that. Okay, let's get back into it. Spider webs? Psh. Like on the graves? Yeah, maybe. But I don't necessarily want there to be spiders in the map other than like maybe little like normal ones. You know what I mean? Let's just do more of the same. I'm going to do some of these. So we can kind of loop it around the edge really easily. Get most of it put away in like a single go. Okay. Next, we need to put statues. That's a concern because I feel like I was running out. I also don't want any that are like, I don't know, questionable or weird. Did I use this one? That's her right there. Okay. I need more statues. Let's pop over to the workshop, see if we can find something. First things first, I'm going to save. And then we're going to open Steam Workshop. Go to Browse Assets. And I'm going to look in Collections first, because there's quite a few statues. I already have those. Maybe. These are all like nude, so don't want that. These are, let's just say, less dramatic. I was going to say not open graves, I said pauper graves, i.e. the cheapest, simple graves, but they would kind of start and expand from there. That being said, I do think a cemetery is a good place to hide a secret passage or a tunnel under like a mausoleum or the chapel itself. And I was thinking of having a companion like cave network, tunnel network that goes to this map that is like a secondary map that might be the next one I make after this. And the reason I'm saying that is I'd already have one area that goes under. No worries. It happens. Hmm. Nice. I'm happy for you, Thrash Metal. One moment. Already have that one. Darn it. Okay, I think I found the last one. Angel. Okay, I think that's all the statues I'm gonna need for this side. I'm gonna bury this little plinth a little bit, so it's just like that, though. A little nicer. Let's check the other side, make sure no statues are leaking through. Cool, so we've got the statues on this side. Oh no, I need one more! No! Curse you, symmetry! I feel like I don't have that one up. Let's check. Singing lady, singing lady, singing lady, singing lady. Yes, I do. There's singing lady. Darn it! Really trying hard not to use the same statue twice is difficult. There we go. Okay, so we've got all the statues now on this side. It's just a matter of giving it plants. So let's just double check the arrangement I did on this side. We got some ivy, we got some flowers. It's depending on where it is in the bend. Okay, let's start with the ivy. Uh-oh. Hey, thank you, Tasia. Much appreciated, much appreciated. I'm great. How are you? Hey, thank you, Rev. How are you doing? What you up to today? Feel like I'm hitting the collider on that statue, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a cheat code. If you move the object just the littlest bit, it will no longer be restricted by colliders, and you can just kind of put it in. It like it cuts into the side of it, essentially. I'm going to do the same thing over here, because it was like jumping up on top of the statue. I am great, Rev. I'm great. Is it NX Tasia or NXT Azia? I can't. I don't want to butcher your name, and I feel bad. I might be getting it wrong. So I just want to say welcome. Thank you for participating in the chat. I honestly, I probably butchered the name both times. I feel so bad for that. Oh man, sorry, I was a little in my build head there, and I just kind of realized I wasn't saying anything, and I hadn't spoken for a while, so I apologize there. Do you ever like get like zoned in your build, and you just kind of forget what you're doing, and you're just like, when you kind of come out of it, you've done like a whole bunch of work? Oh, that looks great. That looks great. Hey, thank you for reminding everyone about the dam challenge. Quick reminder, if you are interested in participating in the next dam challenge, actually, let's start with the basics. The dam challenge is an ongoing map making contest we host on our Discord and on our streams. It's completely free to enter, and it's just like a fun, little way to flex your Mapmaker muscle against the community and show off your skills. The winner gets a $10 Hero Forge gift card, and their map is the first map featured on the Damn Challenge stream, which happens to be this upcoming Saturday. We host the Damn Challenge as a bi-weekly map making contest, meaning every 2 weeks we pick a new theme, and you use that theme as inspiration to make your map, and then you submit it to the Damn Challenge channel in our Discord, where there are rules pinned at the top. You must follow those rules in order for your entry to qualify. The theme right now is Haunted. We did that along the lines of the month, which is obviously October, so it gives you some maps that might work for your campaign or a one-shot or something like that. So if you're interested in participating, or if maybe you've already made a map that might work for that, you could enter and have a chance to win a $10 Hero Forge gift card, as well as have your map be kind of showcased and shared with our community, giving you some bragging rights and I don't know. I enjoy all the different participation we get in the Damn Challenge because I think it just shows off all the different methods and creative ideas our community comes up with. We learn so much from each other just by participating in these events. Does that ivy look pretty good? I feel like I'm kind of going overboard. No. Yeah, I need to pull that map back out and update it. It's been a while. Had like 5 or 6 winners. I need to add a whole new row. I never really wanted to consider that a prize. It's more just a fun thing. You know what I mean? So what Atlam's referring to is I've made a large map that is a gallery showcasing every single winner from the Damn Challenge for the last 2 years. So there's like 60 plus rooms, and each room is a little mini gallery with images and assets and props from that particular map. It also has shout outs to the winner and a QR code you can scan to go right to the map on Steam Workshop. It's pretty cool. Mateus, are you the same Mateus as on TikTok? Because we have one on TikTok as well, and I just thought that's crazy that we've got 2 Mateuses right now. But that's like awesome. I'm not like, it's not a bad thing. Gotcha. Was chat having trouble on TikTok? Ah, Lord Rev, that's the best way to spend your day, working on maps, right? Definitely don't want you to get in trouble with work, though, so make sure you can find that good work-life balance. Is it, Mateus? Interesting, good to know. Well, I just happened to be lucky then, that it was the same person. Well, it's good to kind of put the connection. So, first and foremost, yes, the next update will have separate indoor and outdoor lighting. So the indoor and outdoor ambient lighting will no longer be a problem after the next update launches. So, no longer need to worry about that. 3 monitors helps. Lord Rev, that's clever. Yeah, I feel that. I've got, for my stream setup, I've got a monitor that is like just like a normal wide monitor. I have vertical with all my chat on it, right, on the side. And then up above, I have a big TV that has all my like stream production stuff on it. It also has extra chat and like my stream software. So once in a while I'll glance up, and that's what I'm looking at, is this big screen on the wall above. And then right in front of me I have an ultra wide monitor, like a curved ultra wide, that has it split into 2 screens. So technically I have 4 displays up right now. Gotcha. So our next update will solve that problem. Completely separate indoor and outdoor ambient lighting, and I mean, we're going to add roofing and ceilings and a bunch of stuff, which will help. But I'll be honest with you, Mateus, in all my time as the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist, I have never once, and I say this to give you some confidence and, you know, give you some reassurance, I have never once heard of a player complain about the shadows from the outside light being cast inside. Now, I don't say that as an excuse. I more just want to point out something that I say often, and I believe this wholeheartedly. We as DMs, are, it's kind of a curse and a blessing. We are detail oriented. Many DMs, that's part of the reason they became DMs in the first place. They have attention to detail. They love lore. They love, you know, the idea of weaving a story. And so we have an eye for those little things that may more often get missed by others. And that's part of the reason we became a DM in the first place. Now, putting that into perspective, it's kind of a curse because when we're making maps, we look at every little thing and we go, oh, I got to fix this and make sure it's perfectly angled. I'm guilty of this all the time. I am not, you know, like a perfect example, a paragon of this, because I do it all the time in my builds. I spend way more time than I need to on things, but at the same time, I have come to accept that at the end of the day, your players really just want to get in a map and kick butt or like look for treasure or, you know, explore. They don't really notice the minutia of like shadows and little things that we notice as DMs when we're making the map. You know what I mean? They're there to kick butt and take names, not criticize you on the shadows in a map. And I don't think your players would ever be like, oh man, there's shadows from the sun outside inside. This map is garbage, unreal. I can't play it. You know, like I doubt they would say that. You know what I mean? Mainly because you're playing a game of make-believe to begin with. Like, they believe they have powers and can fly and can shoot eldritch blasts from their hands. I mean, there's a little give and take there, right? So I'm sure at the end of the day, it's really, they won't be judging you in the interim, and it's something that you could probably put your mind at ease about. Anyway, I hope that doesn't come across as like rude or abrasive. I really just say that to give you confidence in your builds and that you do not need to worry about that. Your players will probably never notice it. Honestly, Mateus, it is really something that, and I say this from a point of confidence because I've spoken to hundreds of thousands of DMs who use Dungeon Alchemist. I've DM'd a few campaigns and one-shots myself, and I've also played on tables as a player where maps were Dungeon Alchemist maps. And not once have I heard of this. So, yeah. Who over at YouTube's asking? Oh, the chat. I didn't see it. 1 second. It might have frozen. Honestly, is it Pankatov? I want to make sure I'm saying that. Or Pankatov? I apologize if I butchered your name there. So, AI, I mean, it's a big part of our lives, and it's kind of here to stay. I'm not, unless there's like huge amounts of legislation in like the next few years, it's pretty much kind of a commonplace. Now, I don't say that as like I've given up. I say that as a point of acceptance. Now, let me explain why. AI has been a part of our lives for 30 to 50 years. We use it every day without even realizing it. The street lights you drive through, the banking algorithms, weather, all sorts of things are reliant on AI to help assist it, okay? Farming and, you know, like all science and technology. And, I mean, pretty much it's everywhere, okay? Now, there's good AI, right? Ethical and AI used to help us, assist us in our day-to-day, make our lives easier, right? I think AI should be put into 2 categories. That one, which is helpful, useful, and pushes forward for the benefit of mankind, right? And then there's AI that is basically blatantly theft, okay? There is AI companies out there that will scrape public data and art to train their AI, which not only is it unethical, but it is a copyright concern. And they train their AI with that information, and I can understand why artists and, writers and others get upset about that, because their art is being used and to train the other art and to make art that people use for next to nothing cost-wise. So it is, in essence, an unethical and a copyright dilemma. Dungeon Alchemist, on the other hand, doesn't fall into that category, and I love that. I love working for this company for that reason. We have a very ethical AI. Dungeon Alchemist, first and foremost, we're a team of like 10 people, okay? We're an indie developer, not some big, huge mega corporation. Our AI was developed entirely in-house, and I say that, what I mean by that is our dev team, i.e. the 3 devs we have, sat down and built the AI from scratch, okay? They didn't pull any data from the internet or train it off of your maps or art or anything or any data sets that they got online, okay? So it was all made entirely in-house. All the art in Dungeon Alchemist that's used in the AI room generation and environmental generation, also entirely created in-house by our talented and amazing team of artists who we love and compensate very, very fairly. So basically, when you use Dungeon Alchemist, you're using an AI that is not only ethical, but it's done in the best way possible, I feel like. It is a tool that is designed to save you time, speed up your session prep, and give you more time to enjoy gameplay with your players, right? So at the end of the day, it does, I feel like, fall into category 1, which is AI for good. It's a time saver. It's a tool that was ethically sourced and created. And also, I mean, a few other things to tie into that. We have no monthly fees. It's a one-time fee, a lifetime license for, the service forever. And additionally, sorry, I kind of got off track there because there was a few more messages coming in. I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything. So ultimately, there is going to be AI maps, whether we like it or not. And I've seen the generative AI, the next gen, ChatGPT, Midjourney, the image AI starting to get better and better. There's some that's even making video nowadays. It is what it is. People are going to use it and people aren't going to use it. I do think a bit of education, understanding what AI is and how you can use it or better utilize it yourself is a good idea. But yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, it is frustrating that we get lumped in with all other AI. Like, it happens a lot to us. People will get blistering mad at our map makers on Reddit and other platforms saying, oh, you're using AI, or mad at us saying we use AI and we stole art without even asking or questioning us. They just assume and lump us in with everyone else, which is frustrating, I would say. That's probably my biggest point of frustration as the community manager, because I feel bad for our content creators who are making maps by hand, spending hundreds of hours doing very detailed work, very little AI intervention at all, because Dungeon Alchemist can do that. You can use it to just make maps by hand, like I've been doing in this one. This is not AI generated. This is all by hand. Maybe the environment, like the little terrain bumps there, but everything else is done by hand. And that's the benefit of Dungeon Alchemist. You have the best of both worlds. You can use the AI to speed things up, or you can dive in and make the most intricate, beautiful, detailed custom maps possible. But I do feel bad that, there's community members who are lumped in there when they're actually very talented map makers. I also feel bad that there is kind of this, I guess, anger or resentment towards AI in general when it's not all the same. That's my feedback on that, I guess. Overall, though, I do hope that I try to educate like the masses in our community and other communities well, and in that we're not the same, and they're not all created equally. So, Pankatov, I hope that answers your concern. And I do appreciate your love for like our map maker as a whole. Thank you, Cronkler. I appreciate that. And honestly, like, I'm always advocating for, ethical AI and its use, proper use, right? And I'm always going to bat for our community members. If any of you are getting, ganged up on in a forum, or you're sharing your map somewhere and people are getting mad at you saying it's AI, come grab me, because I can look at your map in a second and tell exactly how much of it was AI and literally confirm. It's frustrating because on Reddit I've offered to offer my like expertise as somebody who's works for Dungeon Alchemist on like subreddits to say yes, this one was AI, or no, this was by hand. I could tell just by looking at it, right? And they were like, no, we're just going to rule out DA maps because it's AI. So Bearded Pansy asks, is there any chance of rotating props in the future? So, I mean, I would hope so. It's kind of a difficult thing for us to develop, though. Mainly because initially we only intended for top-down view, right? And then we essentially are using a system, which is Unity, as our kind of platform foundation, the engine that runs Dungeon Alchemist. And Unity, from my understanding, I'm not a developer, so this is just what I've been told by our development team, has an issue with what's called negative values. So you can't necessarily just create let an object mirror itself or flip it upside down. That's one issue. A lot of objects also, some of them on certain angles aren't necessarily designed to be viewed at other angles. So they may have kind of used some smoke and mirrors to make the object only really viewable at certain ways better. Does that make sense? So there's a kind of combination factor of it's kind of difficult to approach. An example of this, like in The Sims, for instance, they don't actually rotate objects from what I understand of their development. They actually have like hundreds of variations of every object. So the object, this is the normal one when it's up, like upright and normal, but when it tips just the littlest bit, that's a new object. The exact version of the object is rotated a little bit and they replace it. So we may end up having to do something like that. I don't know how practical that is or whatever. And then there's other things like mirroring objects that gets requested a lot, like mirroring staircases and stuff like that. So it would work in an opposite direction, or a door, so it opens from the opposite side. I understand the need for that and the want. The simplest, most straightforward solution would be making an opposite door and an opposite staircase of everything, but then that would double our asset collection, and that's a lot of assets to just mirror and test and do that. So we're hoping to come up with like a dynamic solution that would automatically flip it, and just provide it off of the simple base mesh and work well. That being said, we got to come up with a solution that works well and simple and doesn't require a lot of processing power. Honestly, Pankatov, I wouldn't be working for Dungeon Alchemist if they used unethical AI development or any unethical, I personally, that's my personal values. I don't like working for like unethical companies or corporations. So that's my personal stance. But Dungeon Alchemist has always impressed me. My bosses constantly impress me with their decisions to, first off, offer inclusion and listen to our community, but at the same time be very understanding of like how of a hot button issue AI is right now. I mean, even recently we've kind of gone through and removed AI from some of our descriptions and stuff just to make it easier on our community members who are essentially getting bombarded with hate for using a product that uses procedural AI, which procedural is like 4 or 5 year old AI. It's like last gen AI, nothing like generative AI, right? And so it is kind of frustrating for me. I get irritated, and I'm not mad at the people yelling at them. I'm not mad that it's happening. I feel bad for the people getting berated. They shouldn't be. There's no room for it. You know what I mean? It doesn't need to happen. RPG Maker's pretty cool. It's a neat little app. Honestly, whatever works for you, man. Like, it kind of is like that Zelda-esque kind of like sprite style, right? I think a campaign ran like that would be pretty dope. Trying to figure out what else to put in here. There's lots more flowers, I guess. Rafflesia. Poppies. Make these a little bit bigger. Those got a little clip there. Hey, Kaiser, how you been? Welcome back. Honestly, DA and Foundry pair together really well. It's like peanut butter and chocolate. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I mean, we have really good compatibility with a few different virtual tabletops, but because Foundry offers so much versatility in their tool, we're able to match that versatility, you know? So they offer still maps and animated maps, right? So we offer exports that are still or animated, so images or video. They also, you know, offer support for like fog of war, line of sight, windows, walls, doors, so you can have an underlying map data that's like digital data that is on all of the walls and windows and doors for your map. Foundry supports that, right? Which is great. And our maps export with that information. Our maps export with that information, walls, windows, doors, lighting, etc. for Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, Roll20, Above VTT, and a numerous other virtual tabletops that use the UVTT or Universal VTT format. By the way, I want to apologize if my AI rant was a little excessive earlier. More than anything, I just am all about education. You know what I mean? Making sure people understand. Oh, that is awesome, Core Hall. So Core Hall on YouTube says, I just uploaded my first DA map to FGU, and it was a massive success. Super easy to get the LOS lighting features up and running. That makes me so happy to hear. Like, seriously, I'm so excited for you. Were you able to use the map? Did your players enjoy it? Let's hear some feedback there. Are you playing online or in person, Bearded Pansy? Let's hear more about your setup, and maybe we can make some suggestions to help you streamline it. Because really, everyone here, for the most part, is a DM, so you might actually get some good insight. Of course, you know, if you're not interested, we can just shut up. This is looking really good. I don't know, that seems kind of condescending, but yeah, that's funny, Mondu. Honestly, Bearded Pansy, that's the way a lot of people in our community are doing it, because the asset importer essentially allows you to import anything you want at any angle, any, you know, whatever, right? So a lot of users in our community, they're just kind of doing the old Thanos thing. Fine, I'll do it myself and just make it and rotate it, right? I understand that is frustrating, but honestly, learning Blender isn't a bad thing. It's a very versatile tool and a good skill to have. Especially, it's a great next generation skill to have, like a modern skill set. You know, like I think there's some like analog skill sets that are very good to have, and there's digital skill sets that are good to have. And 3D sculpting, 3D, you know, computer aided drafting of any kind, it's very nice nowadays, especially with the the availability and price of 3D printers becoming like super cheap. Not to mention the like 3D aspects being included in almost anything, you know? Your map making and token making and like all these different things. Five-headed turkeys. A Turkdra? Hey, Stratus, how are you, buddy? Your situation is a bit unique. It sounds like it. So you're remotely accessing a Raspberry Pi server? That's pretty dope. Okay, first off, can I say that's cool? That's cool! Secondly, I'm pretty sure if it's set up on like a network, right? You can get an admin account or privileges and access at any time as long as they're not currently using it as an admin. That's the way Foundry works, at least from my understanding. So like if they're not currently hosting a session, you could log in at any time and mess around with your world. As long as, you know, the Raspberry Pi is always connected to the internet. That is, you know, a contributing factor, of course. Got a flower cut through there. Fix that. Cool, we good there. Oh, really? That's a bummer. They turn it off when they're at work? Oh, that is a bummer. Honestly, I think that's pretty cool. Raspberry Pi for running the server is pretty sleek. And that's awesome that your friend allows you to use it. I don't think it's cringe. I think it's cool. So, I understand your situation a lot better now. So you're essentially running a remote online game through a Raspberry Pi using Foundry as the virtual tabletop. Perfect. One thing I will recommend for you, this, especially where it's always online and you said it's like half the world away connection-wise, you might have some ping issues, I'm assuming, right? At times between your players in the session. You're going to want to make sure your maps are as small and trim as possible. Try to avoid animated maps where possible. And if you do export animated maps, try keeping them smaller at 72 DPI exports and probably about 50 by 50 or less. So the file size is small and the load times are short. 72 DPI, it's less dots per inch, but that means less file data. And it's 6 times smaller than 300 dots per inch, which is what's recommended for print, not for online play. 72 DPI is actually right in the sweet spot where most virtual tabletops recommend exporting. Most recommend between 60 and 100 DPI. By the way, Bearded, if you have any other questions, feel free to ask. The stream's AMA format, so you can ask anything as long as it's Dungeon Alchemist related, and I will do my best to address your concerns. Kaiser, yeah, but not until we leave early access. So Dungeon Alchemist is kind of in like a constant state of flux. Meaning it's always being developed and changed right now as it's in early access. Like every few months, major changes happen. Sometimes so sweeping that things were there a few months ago are no longer there or have been drastically altered. It becomes difficult for me as the community manager to make tutorials even sometimes because they're outdated mere months after I make them, right? So this is a constant kind of state of the development we're in. It's not a bad thing. It just means there's good changes and updates and improvements always being made. But the downside is with our team size, we can't allocate resources to do translation with every update to keep up with it. We're planning to do translation or localization is what it's called after we leave early access. And then we'll pick and choose a few languages and go through and add them, you know, every few months. We'll do testing and make sure it's all good, translation's good, and then offer that language. So it will take some time, unfortunately. Honestly, Dungeon, see that I love that, Bearded. You really see the game from your player's perspective, and I appreciate that. There's way too many DMs that are like, well, when I learned to play, it was pencil and paper and theater of the mind. That's all you need. But the thing is, we're all different. Right? Every person is different. We all learn differently and absorb information differently. There's visual learners. There's people who learn by instruction. There's people who learn by just doing it. Like learning by, you know, actually experiencing it firsthand. There's others who learn auditorily, like just from hearing you say it. Some people have an amazing mind's eye, right? And the thing is others do not. So you need to cater your game to every player at your table, right? And like Atlan just said, Dungeon Alchemist is not only a map maker, but an immersion utility. And it allows you to grab video and screenshots at all sorts of different angles to share with your players as handouts, as an associated scene. I've also seen DMs who go the extra mile and will follow along the gameplay. So they have the top-down export of a map, right? And that map is in their virtual tabletop, such as Foundry. And they'll have the players in top-down mode, but they'll get in first person and follow along the players' movements. You know, like every minute or so, they'll move the token to catch up to wherever the players are currently at. So the players can see the perspective of their token's eyes. This is a very valuable immersion tool, and I am not even joking with you at how fun it can make games. So imagine, you know, you're following along and your players are like, hey, can you take a closer look at the altar for me? I'm wondering what's going on over there. From top down, you might not notice everything, right? But in first person, which that is like a very normal thing for a human to experience, seeing through their own eyes. Aside from people who have lost their vision or have no vision, right? So being able to see through your player character's eyes, I think is a very, very useful utility and immersion tool. So we let them fly, we let them shoot fire bolts from their fingers, they can turn into other like races with a spell, but they cannot see through their own eyes? What? Come on. So this here allows your players to see from this perspective for the first time ever in their games. You can stream along and follow them in first person, or you could just record a video and give it to them as a handout. But if you're looking at this right here, you're noticing extra details that you might have missed in first person, like these blood splotches here, right? That adds a little bit of mystery to it. Nine Fingers, don't stress it. You know what? We've all got a lot on our plates these days. I understand it's like, you know, people work just barely to stay afloat nowadays. Not to mention, like, map making's probably not your life. You've got your family, your friends, your work, your hobbies. So I understand if the stream is a secondary concern. I get it. I do appreciate you being here, and welcome for the first time. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the follow, by the way. So you're now officially part of the Damn fam, as we like to call it. Oh yeah, it actually does match the model height. Also, if you shrink the model down, now you have tiny vision. I really enjoy this perspective. It's like mouse world. So like if you have a druid that changes into like a rodent, you could totally run around like this. Yep, reduce spell effect in, yeah, right there for sure. Hey, Rizal, how you doing? You do actually have some minor stuff, like speed already. If you hold shift, you can increase your speed, so you like run, you have a walk, and then a run. As far as jump heights, unfortunately, no. I will say if you want a little bit more control, it's probably better to use the cinematic camera up here in the top right, because it's more like a drone. You can get down to the ground, you can go up, you can go down, side to side. It's a lot more freedom of movement. There are some minor controls over the first-person camera under File, Settings, and First Person. For instance, you can disable that head bob that's a default. A lot of people in the stream complained about it. We're getting motion sickness, so I turned it off. You can increase sensitivity and the field of view. If you increase the field of view, I'm not going to lie, it also feels like you're moving faster, because in this fisheye mode, everything is like lightning speed. So you can to a degree, but at the moment, I don't know of any concrete plans to add more control options. There's been requests for things like, you know, like a track or a wire that you could line your camera to and it would follow it on a path. Like, so you could have it come through like a cinematic pathing and record at a certain interval. Or I have personally requested more options for this cinematic mode, i.e. the option to hide the UI in cinematic mode and just do a screen capture, not internalized recording. I want more options like increased frame rate, increased bit rate, or bit rate selection. So you could say instead of just 2500 bit rate, you can go up to 10,000 if your computer can handle it, or instead of 30 FPS, 60, 120, etc. Lastly, you know, I do think with time we will get more options and improvements. I think each update we take older features and add, you know, quality of life improvements, fixes, etc. So it's only a matter of time before these things get better. So do you have it as a companion, like, view to the existing top-down map, or do you guys just play in first person and do, like, you explain the whole, you know, situation to them, theater of the mind mixed with first person? That actually sounds really cool, Nine Fingers. Very cool. Okay, back to building. I got a little distracted there. But you know what? I don't mind. Put some more ivy. Honestly, this DM I used to play with would follow us in first person, and then we could just be like, hey, can you go investigate, like, those drawers over there, or open that door? Or, like, he would go up to a door, and if you could see through the door in first person, he would allow you to perceive what was on the other side of the door. So we would use that to our perspective, like if there was a crack underneath, or like a visor, or like you know, something like this that you could see through. like a screen or something, and we would use that to our benefit all the time. But also, if the door was like bolted and huge and heavy duty, he's like, this one's locked, you're gonna have to break through or unlock it, pick the lock, or if it's an arcane like lock or whatever. So we had a lot more interactivity that way. But my son's a very visual learner, and it was kind of his first experience with D&D, and it allowed him much more opportunities to interact with the game because he could see everything in front of him and be like, oh, I would like to loot that, or can I ask a question about this? Oh, there's a pile of notes on the desk. Can we take a look at them? It's really interesting to play that way. Hey, Wolfie, welcome back. How you been, my friend? What you been up to? I like putting ivy in the corners there. Well, I appreciate the lurk, my friend. Possible Junior, thank you for the follow. Sorry I missed that. And Mateo Loisel, thank you for the like on Facebook. Much appreciated. Okay, let's put some more of these. Ah! Quit jumping up on top of it. I need to figure out what to fill this with. For space. Oh no, Bearded, that probably was a pain. I've seen people who have used DA for months and didn't realize you could adjust the camera angle. So they were building entirely in top-down the entire time. Didn't realize you could alter this and get in close and adjust things. And when they started looking at their maps at other angles, they quickly realized how many things were like off the ground or not centered or weird. Oh, Kaiser, that's really cool. That's really cool. Raise of hands, have any of you ever used Dungeon Alchemist to make a landing screen or use a landing screen in your campaign? Wolfie, you have? Nice. Did your players enjoy it? Okay, raise of hands. Who knew you could actually build a landing screen in Dungeon Alchemist? Because I'm sure some of you didn't even know, or like probably asking yourself, what is a landing page right now? Let me save and I'll show you what a landing page is really quick. Oh, really, Half Ogre? Nice. So, if you go to the Steam Workshop tab, there's been a few creators who have made these amazing immersive maps called landing pages or landing screens, okay? Let's see if we can find a few. And essentially what they are is an immersive backdrop for... Yeah, this one's great. Dyson really did a great job with this one. An immersive backdrop for your campaign that essentially has scenic, like decorative objects and scenes that kind of tie into the theme and the experience of your campaign. So this one here is a Ghost of Saltmarsh one, right? And what they've done is set up this little kind of table with this ship in the background. So you can look at the table, look at the ship, and that actually might blink or something. I'm not 100% certain how they've set it up. But those are like, that's like Morse code, right? So there's like a key there to say what it might be or mean something in the background. Now this is kind of a very interesting and simple one with just some kind of detritus and junk on the table, but there's some that are much more intricate. I've also seen what is essentially a long rest screen or a camp screen where, you know, you can have like a loading screen in between, like when your players are on a break or something. This one's one of my favorite examples. Dyson, I really like this Saltmarsh one. It's beautiful. You did a great job. This was one of the first landing pages made, and it was, I'm pretty sure it was the first one that was made with Dungeon Alchemist, and it kind of started the trend. But it kind of showed people what was possible. And landing pages, if you're not familiar, you can set them up as like a scene on your virtual tabletop, like the launch scene or the loading scene for your campaign. And essentially, it's a backdrop that is a mood kind of palette cleanser for the campaign. Your players come in, they see all this, you know, props and information, maps, you know, world maps, maybe even wanted posters of a bad guy or anything like that. So they have kind of relevant information from last week or what they've been working on recently as a refresher. I've heard of DMs actually hiding Easter eggs in their landing pages by using things like Monk's Active Tiles, which is a free module for Foundry, where you could hide like an interactive where they could click somewhere and it would trigger something. So one of the DMs actually hid like inspiration or a magical item in there. But that's just like an example. So imagine when you load into Foundry or Fantasy Grounds, the first page you go to is this as a map instead of an actual map. Your players get this nice little palette cleanser that sets the mood for the game, and it's possibly even interactive. It could be animated or still. I think it's a very fun way to add some more immersion and allow your players to kind of tie themselves to the environment more, because they feel like they're part of it. One way that's another great way to do this, in this same creator and others have actually included images of their players in the landing page. This one here. Oh, wow, that's cool. Like this might even be their home base. You could click this and it would go to the scene, or like it would open the world map, so you can give them like interactivity to that degree, so it'll change scenes for them. But like here you can see on the table there's like player character, you know, images, maybe their home base, a world map. That's smart too. Yeah, they could click it and open their sheets from there. That's great. That's a really brilliant use of their character information. But then the other players could see the other players' sheets too. So it's nice. It's really cool. So you would use this map in tandem with something like Foundry or Fantasy Grounds to display it as a scene, and then if there are modules, plugins, extensions that support interactivity, like clicking areas, opening up, you know, like a note or a map, or expanding it or going to another scene, then you could do that. Like I said, Foundry has that option with Monk's Active Tiles. This one's one of my favorites. It's even got the little DA logo in the background. Makes you wonder why it's my favorite. Hey, Hans, Half Elven, how you doing? Welcome, welcome. And thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. Welcome to the Damn Fam, or the Damn Nation, as we say. I'll let you decide. Do you want to be in the Damn Fam or the Damn Nation? So we say that here. We're not swearing. It's actually a play on words. When you save a map in Dungeon Alchemist, it's saved as the name of the map .dam, which is our proprietary map format. It stands for Dungeon Alchemist Map. It's a text file that essentially tells Dungeon Alchemist where all the objects and lights and effects are on the map. Damn! I knew what you're after. USMC Ninja, I'm actually proud of you for joining in the chat a little bit today. I see you there, ever lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike. Practicing stealth at all times. Yep. They used bullseye lanterns to get some extra light because bullseyes project light in DA. Here, let's make it darker. You can actually see the projection. See, there's light projected over here and here. There's some on the ground too. They're all over. It's really clever. Another thing you could kind of use in tandem with this is the magic lantern. When I was younger, my friends and I, we went to the school's, library and made a bunch of flyers. We made a graphic in the graphics lab and went to the library and printed a bunch of these flyers. We handed them out, put them on everyone's car, put them all over town, and it was for a ninja parade. And essentially, we set a time and a date and told everyone where to show up, and people showed up, and then there was nothing. Absolutely nothing. So they show up, and everyone is expecting ninjas to be there. And we had a person with a karaoke announcer box, and essentially they were like, yes, we have the ninjas of whatever dojo now taking the street, as always practicing their deadly art of invisibility. I feel like we also made a John Cena joke at the time or something. I can't remember, but there was other jokes with it. SNES gets it. When I see your name, SNES S23. Okay, so I'm assuming you like the Super Nintendo, right? Okay, let's get back to my build, because I'm running out of time for today, so I want to work on it a little bit more before we wrap up. By the way, if any of y'all have any questions, concerns, feedback, suggestions, this is the time to bring it up. During these streams, they're AMA formats, so if you have questions about Dungeon Alchemist, maybe you already own it and you're trying to figure something out, how to build a specific thing, how to export correctly, or maybe you're sitting on the fence about purchasing it and you have questions, feel free to chime in and let me know. As the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist, I love assisting our community and helping, guide you and making sure your maps come out exactly as you anticipate. So if you have any questions, concerns, feedback, please let me know. I also keep a notebook that I take notes from the community if there is suggestions or feedback that I pass on to the devs. So Possible Junior on Twitch asks, is there any plans to add sci-fi items and rooms in the future? I would say after we leave early access, the sky's the limit. Right now, Dungeon Alchemist, as you know it started as a Kickstarter. So we originally got all our funding and interest as a Kickstarter fund. And part of that Kickstarter, we had a series of goals, stretch goals that were hit. Like 14 different stretch goals. And those have been our roadmap for our development. So each update we release is a stretch goal from the roadmap. Our last update was Magic, a major milestone on the roadmap. Our next update is Fun with Objects. Fun with Objects will include things like multi-level, roofing, separate ambient and indoor lighting, ambient indoor and outdoor lighting, ways to better manipulate and move and adjust objects. So just to give you an idea of a few things in the next update that'll be coming. Now, what I get to with these updates is we have a development plan and we have a series of promises that we must deliver on before we can branch into other themes and take on feature creep. So first off, ethically, we wouldn't be doing good by our community if we jumped into a different theme and abandoned our plans or took on feature creep that was more than we can handle as a team of 10 people. We are an indie team, small team, so we got to work with our resources and manpower. So once we leave early access, the devs have said, yeah, we have interest in expanding Dungeon Alchemist to include optional biomes and aesthetics. So imagine a cyberpunk add-on or a sci-fi add-on or maybe a modern, etc. Currently, Dungeon Alchemist works well with fantasy, can lean into some like early Western, works great for some historical content, as well as even some modern stuff. And we've also, in the interim, given our community tools to allow them, empower them to do things like sci-fi now. There are actually dozens, if not hundreds, of sci-fi maps and hundreds, if not, at least 1,000 sci-fi objects on the Steam Workshop. So you have Steam Workshop integration through Dungeon Alchemist. There's a tab right at the top where you can browse the nearly 10,000 maps, only 53 maps to go till we hit 10,000, okay? All shared for free. Great to use as a foundation or inspiration or even learn. Here's one right here that's just a road in an abandoned city. It's got cars. It's got a highway. That's not stock objects, but they use the tool set in Dungeon Alchemist and the assets on the workshop to build that. If you search sci-fi, you can see even more examples of this. Here's a ship on a dock in space, okay? This is definitely done with Dungeon Alchemist, but they source the assets from the workshop. So you can either get on the Steam Workshop and download a map, and if that map has sci-fi stuff in it, it'll automatically trigger the download, and you can confirm that, and then you'll get all those assets like a single collection. Additionally, you can go into the asset browser and search sci-fi. You'll get lots of different, flooring, panels, computers, tons. There's 10 pages worth. Additionally, you can go into collections. Collections are pre-configured assets into a group that are similar themes. So there are sci-fi collections in here to save you time. You can download, a dozen or 100 assets all at once that are similar themed. So basically, it's possible to do sci-fi right now given the tool sets that are available. You can download sci-fi models. You can build sci-fi maps. It's not as easy or straightforward because there's no AI support for it. The room generation will not work. You can generate like a skeleton of a room with just walls and floors and then put sci-fi stuff in it. If you find some walls that'll work in your environment, great. Now, once we leave early access and have delivered on all our stretch goals, these optional expansions would be considered optional. Think of them like an expansion on an old video game. Instead of instead of a subscribe service where you have to pay monthly to get these things, or maybe an annual fee for a bunch of add-ons, it's nothing like that. It would be You know, one-time fee for this particular add-on. It's optional. If you want sci-fi, you get it. Don't have to support it if you don't want it. The reason it would be above and beyond as a cost is because our Kickstarter and our development plan kind of had a certain amount of things tied to it. Going above and beyond that would definitely take more funds and resources to do so. Anyway, I hope that cleared that up. Sorry if I got a little word salady there at the end, but yes, eventually, yes, we plan to offer sci-fi, but in the interim, you can definitely do sci-fi now if you're willing to roll up your sleeves a little bit, dive into the assets, and play around with them. Yes, so essentially, Dungeon Alchemist, when you purchase it, it's a lifetime license for the core product, okay? You will never have a monthly, whatever, you know, anything like that. The only thing that we would maybe offer in the future are these add-ons I'm talking about, but it would take Dungeon Alchemist and add like a sci-fi add-on or a cyberpunk add-on. And what that add-on would include is, you know, probably 20 to 40 room types that are all in that aesthetic, so sci-fi rooms, several thousand objects that are sci-fi themed, doors, windows, walls, floors, sci-fi themed, and additionally, environmental biomes that are sci-fi themed. So it would basically take all of those and add it onto your existing Dungeon Alchemist architecture, allowing you to use both of them. All of the fantasy and all of the sci-fi in one place. Core Hall. What's going on, Core Hall? Something with your grid? When I export my map, I see there's 7 circles. Oh, that is your grid. Yeah, so you can enable the grid a few different ways. Alt-G is the hotkey for it, which, depending on your settings for your grid, that's what it'll look like. So if you go to Settings, you can see the grid section here. You can enable the grid or disable it. You can adjust the transparency so it can actually be pretty much invisible or really, really, you know, prominent. And you can change the color. I only recommend using the grid during building so you have an idea of spacing, sizing, gives you a good reference point because it's a 5-foot square. And I only recommend exporting the grid if you plan to print your map or use a TV tabletop. The reason I say that is because virtual tabletops have amazing grid software built in. Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, they have amazing grid utilities built in. You can set the color of the grid, the size of the grid, the transparency of the grid, the shape of the grid, all sorts of stuff. So if you disable the grid on DA and export without it, that's the best way to do it for virtual tabletops because their grid tools are more than adequate. Just set them to 5 feet and it'll match up perfectly. Hey, Stratus, you taking off? Hey, see you later. Good luck on your presentation. I mean, you could always just dig a 10-foot pit instead of using the actual pit objects. Like, I like these, but yeah, they're kind of fixed sizes and these snap into the ground, right? So you could just use, like there's a room pit type, right? So let's just do like a bottomless pit. Make it like a 20. That one's going to be way deep, though, of course. And then there's the earthen dig, which it's only like, you know, a few feet deep. And then remember, at the end of the day, you can always... Oh, I guess you can't sink pits any lower. Let's try that before we generate it. Yeah, I just sunk the pit way further down, so it's even deeper. So that gives you like a little bit of extra depth far beyond what you did. I'm still working on the cemetery. I just didn't get much work done today because we were talking and answering questions a lot, but it's coming along, actually. I did a bunch of ivy and plants around this edge today. So the cemetery is essentially an 82 by 82 map. We've got the entry, the first major block of, you know, like gravestones, a more fancy kind of gated area with, you know, more private graves for maybe like heroes or royalty or, you know, the rich people, the affluent. And then we've been working on this beautiful garden all the way around and pathway around the the chapel here, which has been quite a bit of work, but it is pretty much nearing completion now. Gosh. I wish there was a hotkey for collisions. Just like, done. Heck, there might be, and I don't even realize it. So much love from TikTok, is there? Holy cow. Well, thank you for the likes, TikTok. Yeah, over 450 likes in the last little bit. Much appreciated. Hey, TikTok, let's do an online fist bump here. So you just put your hand up to your phone. There you go. I guess everyone can join in. You know what? You all can join in. Let's do a fist bump. Next, take your hand, pat yourself on the back. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. I'm going to put some more plants in here to kind of make it more diverse. Okay, uh-oh. I just noticed my stream chat is frozen. Stand by, stand by. Did I miss something? Yeah, USMC Ninja, it's nice that our community has started filling in the void with those, like, cultural assets. I'll be honest with you, I doubt we'll ever dip into cultural assets ourselves that much. Mainly because it becomes very hard to tiptoe that line without accidentally or even unintentionally becoming something offensive. And we'd have to essentially make sure that it's done correctly, and not to mention it wasn't really anything we planned on initially. We were always in a fantasy theme, so they don't necessarily quite fit, but I understand why people want that in Dungeon Alchemist, because it is such a great tool for map making, and having the aesthetic there is helpful. Totally get it. Totally get it. And I do I agree that, you know, and understand that those themes are also in fantasy settings too. It's not like it's a problem or it's wrong for it to be there. I totally get that as well. I just, I think it's hard for us as a company to dip into that without excess risk, I guess. Oh, it is hard to make when I'm stopping, but honestly, I don't mind at all helping our community and answering questions. I would rather spend the whole time answering your questions, showing off teasers, and giving guidance than making my own map at the end of the day. So, in fact, let's show a couple teasers real quick. And it's not even the risk versus reward thing. I just think, you know, I think to do appropriately, we'd probably have to bring on like a cultural sensitivity person from that particular region to educate us properly, because it's not something we could even begin to comprehend ourselves. I'm from America, and the rest of our team is Belgian. it's not something we're going to excel at. You know, we can understand and read up on it and be good at it, but to do it right and appropriately, it would essentially take a whole, you know, bringing someone onto the team and addressing it appropriately from top to bottom and making sure it's done right. So it would take a lot of time if we ever did it. So if anything, I mean, if we ever did something like that, maybe post early access, like an expansion, like we discussed earlier, that would probably be the extent of it. But I do know the devs really tried to stray away from cultural assets, and every time we even dipped our toe in it, it's become problematic. Pretty much every single time. And by that, I mean there's been several instances where people have been, you know, offended or upset, and we've had to make, you know, adjustments to compensate and, like, make things right. And, you know, because we were just completely ignorant of those things. It wasn't intentional at all, you know, and it was an educational moment for sure. So what you're seeing here in this tool is essentially an improvement to the object brush. So the object brush, if you're not familiar, under the brush or the object panel is this tab here, and it allows you to paint objects onto your screen much quicker. Trees, rocks, stone, plants, etc., graves. That's how I painted that whole graveyard section in the map I'll show you again in a minute. But in the next update, we're giving you the ability to turn any object into a brush. So you can pick any object from the thousands of objects available in the stock objects or objects on the workshop, and then make it into a brush and paint it out very quickly. This is going to be a big, huge time saver for our community, especially those who want to build sci-fi maps or want a brush of something that we haven't created a brush for yet. Yes, this is a huge, huge improvement to the brush tool. Custom brushes will be amazing. I'm hoping this even expands to a brush palette, i.e. you could select, like, you know, 2 to 5 objects and it paints them in a scattering together, because sometimes several objects go together, you know, in a grouping. But at least one object being a custom brush for now is the right start. We're off on the right, you know, direction here. My goodness, 2.2 thousand likes. Thank you so much, TikTok. Y'all are insane. I appreciate it, and I love your crazy. Okay, another thing that's coming in the next update. If you look carefully at this, it is it's called the Modular Object Tool, another expansion to the object menu, and it'll allow you to quickly lay objects down that link together, that snap together natively, i.e. tracks, pipes, wall blocks that snap together, stuff like that. So we're hoping, that with this tool, it'll speed up your map making, especially when it comes to objects that offer linkages. Snapping. And, you know, there's not a ton, but we're hoping to expand upon this with time. Roads, you know, paths, etc. So there's that. One thing you can actually see in this is kind of a bit of a teaser that indicates what's coming with the multi-level. If you look over here on the right side, this is actually a big deal. So notice it says 0 and it's got an arrow going up. When you start making in multi-level, you'll be able to jump between the levels with this UI or with a hotkey. And I'm hoping also you'll be able to click here and just type in the number and jump to it, like an input field. But for now, it's when you push up, it'll go up to 1, and then there'll be a down arrow to go back down to 0, etc. Depending on the verticality in your map, it'll offer the ability to jump between those levels. So kind of like we saw here earlier in this tower video. Unfortunately, this video is zoomed in and was a crop, and you can't see that tool on the side. Like, notice how it's cut here off here on the side. That tool is cut off, so you can't see the numbers jumping between the levels. But essentially, it will allow you to jump between the different levels, look at them, you know, save that level or export that level. That's a good question, Nine Fingers. I don't know. Very good question. Rails that can actually be, like, looped and put into, like, an animation would be amazing. Also could be cool for, like, cutscenes and stuff to make your own, like, Indiana Jones, Donkey Kong-esque kind of railroad track mine scene. you know? I think that would be amazing. But this here will be in our next update. As you can see, it's very early alpha. Lots of bugginess, like this floating gargoyle, or like this area here where the arch is cutting into the floor above. It needs some work, okay? Obviously work in progress alpha, but it will get better before launch. This one here is very interesting, showing how you can do indoor balconies, mezzanines, etc. So you can cut out sections, have independent flooring on each level that's different from the level below it, see the floor below. This will be perfect for your ideal like tavern, saloon setups, or mansions, castles. I always envision a tavern as a multi-floor establishment where, you know, the bottom floor is where like all the tables are, and maybe like if there's a dartboard or some kind of game, and then maybe a dance floor if there is, or a stage, and then the bar off to the side. And then there's usually a staircase leading to the rooms up above where there's like a balcony and there'll be people peering over, looking down, and you know what I mean? Man, a glass floor would be a good idea, actually. Let me throw that on the suggestion list. Glass floors, which would also work for ceilings. We need some cool, like, glass ceilings. We need stained glass, crystal, just clear, and also, like... No, I like this a lot. Catwalks, yeah. I just added all that in there. We do have greenhouses already, right, Mondu? And those work pretty good, and they have the kind of glass walls, but I don't know if the full ceiling would come into effect there, but that would be great for it, because it's got that patinaed, like, iron that's got that, like, kind of green on it. Let's see here. Let's show this new clip that was just shared today on Discord. It's very new. Not many people have seen it. And this is an inside look with ceilings, stairs up to multiple levels, balconies, a little bit of everything all rolled into one. You know, Nine Fingers, we have a whole update on our roadmap planned for ships called the High Seas, so I'm sure rigging and nets and stuff like that will probably be addressed in that update. There's kind of talk internally, and one of our devs have publicly stated that we plan to launch a tool within Dungeon Alchemist called the Shipyard that would actually be like a shipbuilding tool that you would open up, similar to like the Asset Importer, that would essentially allow you to build ships from a composite of different objects, or maybe even every object in Dungeon Alchemist, to make custom ships that you can save and then export to the workshop, put in your map, or copy and put into different maps, so move between maps, or other people can use that same ship. I don't know, Eduardo. At this point, it's kind of hard to say. I would love to see that with the pipes. I do know that verticality wasn't really considered with them, and it's really hard to get it to go up and turn right. I had to do all sorts of workarounds to get a pipe to bend in that direction. Let me save this, and I'll show you what I did once. It was kind of a pain. So in this map here, I set up like a pipe system with a water kind of like catch and like a pump, so it was pulled from like an underwater reservoir and used in like a sluice box where they're rinsing off like dirt off of gold, you know, stuff they pull from the mine to look for gems and stuff. But like in order to get a pipe to go up, there's only this pipe piece that goes up, right? That's it. That's the only piece that goes up. And I had to like do this whole bend to get it to look right. So I totally understand. So Space Cowboy, not currently. There's nothing stock that would support that. But plenty of in our community have used the tools available to make space scenes and ships and We offer the asset importer and paired it with Steam Workshop, so you can import custom 3D models of ships and or scenes to make like astral maps. There's a few that are fantastic. I'll show you one in just a minute if you give me a moment. The other thing that people do will use an object called abstracts, which allow you to do custom backdrops and scenes. So you can place like this on the ground here, expand it to the size of your entire map, and insert like an astral sea in it. So while it's not a stock feature, it's totally possible to do using the tools and features available in Dungeon Alchemist. One of our updates that we were just kind of talking about that's planned is called the High Seas. I imagine at that point, one of the biomes we'll address is the astral plane or the astral sea, because we'll be doing ships. Ships aren't just water. You'll have airships, arcane ships. So I think we'll drift into several different ship types, but also the areas where they might be seen, i.e. air, sky, cloud biome, sea, oceans, islands, and also astral planes. So, that's how I perceive that being addressed. Just from what I've heard from the devs and seen based on, our past development cycles. Let me show you a map that I think is just the absolute... Here, I might even be subbed to it right now. I am not, but I know what it's called. So there's this map that is just one of the most beautiful maps I've ever seen. It's called Rithward Quay, and it is a map set right on the edge of the Astral Sea. Okay? We actually did a dam challenge called Astral Sea, and this was what was made. We do a map-making contest every 2 weeks. We pick a theme. That was the theme, Astral Sea. So our current dam challenge is Haunted, kind of going with the theme of the month. But they used a combination of objects from the workshop, abstract assets, and effects to accomplish this kind of, it looks like land right at the edge of the Astral Sea and water's just falling into nothing. It is seriously one of the most immersive and beautiful maps I've ever seen. While I'm getting this, I'm downloading the assets now. That's another thing about a Dungeon Alchemist integration with the workshop. If you find a map on the workshop and download it, if there are any assets that were sourced from the workshop, it'll prompt you to download them automatically, which means you don't need to go locate them. It's a collection of those assets. So every map is essentially a collection of the assets within it, which is really cool. While we're waiting, here is the link for that. That map, if anyone's interested in checking it out. Dang, I should have probably dropped it on this chat. But with that link in hand, you could go check out this map in your own copy of Dungeon Alchemist, see what it is firsthand. Sorry, the workshop's being a little slow today. Steam is so 50-50. Some days it's like, and other days it feels like I am watching molasses strip. Do you all have similar experiences with the workshop? Because I know it's not my internet. Like, I have really good internet, or I wouldn't be able to stream. Like, you need good internet to stream, download, and upload. I have an unlimited data plan, and I have reasonable upload and reasonable download, so I'm, like, confused. The Lion of Komar? Yes, I am winning. I am totally winning, Dad. I've been making some cool maps all day. I say that to my kid all the time when he's gaming. I'll pop in and just, are you winning, son? I love the workshop, but it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like, it seems like the architecture from it is like the last generation of internet. Like Steam, it seems like, some parts of it are like really old infrastructure architecture that it runs on. But at the same time, it's kind of part of its charm. You know what I mean? And the sad part is about multiple assets queued is it doesn't like put them into a zip file to download them all at once. It downloads them all one at a time. Each download opens one at a time. Like, it would be very cool if once a map's created as a map, all the assets in it would be put into like a single zip. So when you download it, it's just like one file instead of hundreds. Let's make this map night, because that's where it really shines, in my opinion. But as you can see here, we have essentially this beautiful, like, pub slash inn right on the edge of nowhere with these docks set up, and there's like, sea ships and also astral ships, airships right here just chilling out. I love this map. I think it is like a very good example of when you put your mind to it, you can really do anything in Dungeon Alchemist. Most of what you see down here is a combination of assets from the workshop or effects. So what they did is they went into the effects panel here, and they found black smoke, and they painted it over this area to make it extra dark and feel like more like a deeper space. They also went through and found these little will-o-wisps, put some of those in, because the will-o-wisps look like, just celestial bodies off in the distance, stars. Space Cowboy, I hope this gives you some ideas, kind of gets your brain spinning a little bit, and I appreciate the kind words. Honestly, Dungeon Alchemist, I'll be honest, it is a work in progress. We are in early access. There's a lot of work left to be done. 5 major updates remain on our roadmap before we leave early access. So in that time, a lot of changes, a lot of quality of life improvements, features, and, biomes and objects and other things will be added. And we hope we'll be a lot more full-featured by then. But in the interim, we love to answer your questions, provide guidance and assistance. Remember, anytime you can drop into these streams and get help. We stream 3 times a week, every Monday, every Wednesday, and every Saturday. Every Monday is Mapmaker Monday, where we build maps live and provide AMA support. Every Wednesday is called Office Hours. That stream is exclusive to our Discord. The other streams are multi-streams on all our other platforms, but Discord can't be part of those for some reason. They don't allow, multi-streaming with Discord. So we do a Discord exclusive stream every Wednesday. That one is a lot more support than anything. You can come in, share maps with me, show images. We can guide you through and help you in real time with voice chat or just text. And we also just talk about development and hang out. It's a much more laid-back stream. Share feedback, talk about our sessions, talk about pop culture. We honestly get a little distracted on that stream. Moving on. Saturday streams. Every other Saturday is a different stream. The coming Saturday is the Damn Challenge stream, where we showcase maps from the current map-making contest, the Damn Challenge, which is Haunted, is its theme. Using Haunted as a theme, make a map of any shape or size, submit it to the Damn Challenge channel in our Discord, using the rules pinned at the top. If you follow the rules, you'll be qualified. If your map is the winner, it'll be the first map featured, which gives it, 20, 30 minutes of FaceTime with our community in the stream. It is also featured in our weekly newsletter. So the last Cartomancer Chronicles showcased the winner from the previous Damn Challenge, which was Ghost Town. So you get a bit more FaceTime here. And lastly, you get a $10 Hero Forge gift card. So you kind of get to flex on the rest of the community by being such an amazing creator. Anyway, participation's optional, and it's really just for fun. It's not meant to be like some crazy competition. It's all in jest and just to hang out, get to know each other, and kind of flex your map maker muscle. Anyway, we're going to be wrapping up the stream here because we've run about 20 minutes long. I do appreciate everyone being part of the stream today, participating, whether you're new here and just kind of hanging out, or you're actively chatting, or you're a long time supporter of the stream, or maybe you're just a lurker. Each and every one of you are an important part of the stream. Nine Fingers, your question, I just saw that up above. Resizing items like pipes and rails that get generated with the new tool would keep the contact points. That's a good question. I don't know how that would work. I'm assuming if you scale, that would be awesome. Let me talk to the guy who's actually making that and just find out. But I assume if you scale one object, it'll kind of be scawampus and it won't rescale the others. But that would be really intuitive if you scale down one rail and it auto sets them to that scale percentage, each one after that. That would be amazing. I'm going to add that. Modular. So, okay, so I put auto scaling in modular object tool question mark. So I was gonna talk to Quentin later, so I'll ask him about that. Quentin is the developer who's working on that. Sorry for the randomness. I wish I had an answer for you. Sadly, I don't. Anyway, I will look into it and maybe check back in the future, see if I got any information. But thank you everyone for participating, for being here. I really do love these streams and love these community initiatives, hanging out during the damn streams, you know, Mapmaker Monday, office hours, etc. Appreciate you all being here. But we'll see you next time I give a damn, right? Mac out. Bye. See you later, everyone. Hey, Nine Fingers, I mean, if anything, you can just drop into Discord. You know, if you're in our Discord, I'm always in there. You can DM me anytime or create a question thread. You know what I mean? So it doesn't have to be just exclusive to the stream. I do wish I had the answer right now, but if anything, I'll look into getting an answer. Okay? Thank you, everyone, for being here. Have a good one. We're going to take off now. Bye. Oh, by the way, really quick, shameless promotion. If you enjoyed the stream, make sure you hit that follow or subscribe, like, whatever it is for your platform. That way you can find us next time and you don't miss out on the damn stream or other provided content in the future, because it is a great resource, great way to learn about Dungeon Alchemist and just get to know other people in our community, make some friends. Thanks again, everyone, for being here. We'll see you around. We're going to run a little quick ad and we're going to wrap up the stream. Oh no, the ad was muted the whole time. My bad.
But can it handle curves?
I did not realize it was muted.
But can it handle curves?
But can it handle curves?
But can it handle curves?
Dungeon Alchemist, the AI-powered map-making application for role-playing games, now comes with both round and diagonal walls. Create amazing professional maps for your players in seconds. Get it now on the Steam store.
But can it handle curves?
All right, everyone. We'll see you later. Thanks for hanging out. Mac out. Bye.